The light from 3 suns shone through the dirty windows of the trading post, casting strange shadows across the auction floor. Elara stood on the raised platform, her blue skin dulled by years of neglect, and her once proud wings bound tightly against her back. She kept her eyes on the floor, knowing that looking up at potential buyers often earned her a shock from the collar around her neck. 8 years had passed since raiders took her from her home world. 8 years of being sold from one cruel master to another. 8 years of being valued only for her natural ability to sense and influence emotions, an ability now suppressed by the neural inhibitor locked around her throat. Next item for sale, called the auctioneer, a bulky Rigelian with mottled green skin. Female Zenthian, approximately 25 Earth years old, trained for household service and entertainment, empathic abilities fully functional when not inhibited, some scarring on the back and wings but nothing that affects performance. Elara flinched at his words. The scarring had come from her last owner, who punished her whenever she failed to predict his violent mood swings. Her people, the Zenthians, were once respected across the galaxy for their wisdom and artistic talents. Now, after the Great Purge, the few survivors were hunted and sold like rare animals. The crowd murmured with interest. Zenthians were uncommon on the market these days. A mining foreman from the outer colonies raised a signal paddle. 5,000 credits, he growled. 10,000, countered a silk-robed merchant, his many eyes blinking in sequence. Elara tried to make herself small. Whoever won would simply be a new face to fear. 15,000, said the mining foreman. The merchant hesitated, then shook. His head. 15,000 going once, the auctioneer announced, his voice rising with excitement over the high price. 20,000, a new voice spoke from the back of the room. The crowd parted, turning to look at the newcomer. Elara risked a glance up. A human male stood there, tall and straight-backed. He wore the simple gray uniform of the Earth Alliance, marked with blue stripes indicating diplomatic service. Humans were rare in this part of space and even rarer at slave auctions. Earth had outlawed slavery centuries ago and was known to punish its citizens severely for participating in the trade. The auctioneer paused, suspicious. This is a legal trade. Under Rigelian law, Earthman, your interference is not welcome. I'm not interfering, the human said calmly. I'm bidding 20,000 credits, the mining foreman cursed. 25,000. 30, the human replied without hesitation. The crowd grew louder. Most had never seen such prices for a single slave, even a Zenthian. The foreman consulted with his associates, then reluctantly lowered his paddle. Sold, the auctioneer declared, slamming down his gavel. To the Earthman for 30,000 credits. Guards pushed Elara down from the platform. She stumbled, her legs weak from standing still for hours. The human stepped forward, presenting his payment chip to the auctioneer. As they completed the transaction, Elara stared at the floor, trembling slightly. Humans had a fearsome reputation. Their emotions were said to be wild and unpredictable. Without her empathic senses, she could not read his intentions. The ownership documents have been transferred to your device, the auctioneer said, sounding uncomfortable. No refunds under any circumstances. The human nodded, then approached Elara. She tensed, expecting rough handling. My name is Alan Carter, he said quietly. I work for the Earth Alliance Diplomatic Corps. I need you to come with me, please. Please. Not a word she had heard often in the past 8 years. The guards handed Alan the control unit for her collar. He took it with obvious distaste, then gestured toward the exit. This way. Elara followed him through the crowded marketplace outside the auction house. Other slaves moved in chains with their new owners. Merchants called out their wares. No one paid them much attention. Just another transaction completed. They reached a small transport ship docked at the edge of the trading post. The hatch opened as they approached. Inside, it was clean and well lit, very different from the dirty cargo holds where Elara usually traveled. Sit anywhere you like, Alan said, moving to the pilot's chair. We'll be departing shortly. Elara hesitated, then perched nervously on the edge of a passenger seat. She watched as Alan initiated the launch sequence. The ship hummed to life, rising smoothly from the docking pad. "We're clear of the trading post," he announced after a few minutes. "Setting course for the Horizon Dawn, my main vessel." He turned, his chair to face her. Ilara lowered her gaze immediately. "I imagine you have questions," he said. She remained silent. Questions from slaves were rarely welcomed. Alan sighed. "I understand your caution. I want to show you something." He tapped at the control panel. A holographic document appeared in the air between them, her ownership certificate. With another tap, the status changed from property to pending emancipation. "I have no intention of keeping you as a slave," Alan explained. "Once we reach Earth Alliance territory, this document will be replaced with refugee status papers. You'll be legally free." Ilara looked up, confused. "Why? Why did I buy you?" Alan leaned back in his chair. "I'm gathering evidence of treaty violations in this sector. The Regelian Confederacy signed the Sentient Rights Accord 3 years ago, which banned slavery. Yet here they are, openly running auctions." He gestured at the collar around her neck. "I'd like to remove that inhibitor if you'll allow it. It must be uncomfortable." Ilara's hand moved unconsciously to the metal band. Without it, her natural abilities would return. She would be able to sense the truth of his words, but what if this was a trick? "I understand your hesitation," Alan said. "Take some time to think about it. We'll dock with my ship in about an hour. You can make your decision then." He turned back to the controls, giving her space. Ilara watched him, trying to understand. In her experience, no one spent 30,000 credits without expecting something in return. The small ship continued its journey through the stars, carrying her toward an uncertain future. For the first time in 8 years, that future contained a strange new element: hope. The small transport ship docked smoothly with a larger vessel. Through the viewport, Ilara saw the name painted on its hull: Horizon Dawn. The ship was sleek and well-maintained, bearing the blue and silver markings of Earth Alliance Diplomatic Corps. "We've arrived," Alan said, standing up from the pilot's chair. "This is my ship. You'll be safe here." Ilara remained silent, her hands folded in her lap. 8 years of captivity had taught her that safety was never guaranteed. The airlock hissed open. Alan gestured for her to follow him into the larger ship. "This way, please." The Horizon Dawn was clean and well lit, very different from the dark cargo holds where Ilara had spent most of her time in transit between owners. The corridors were wide, and the air smelled fresh. As they walked, Alan spoke to the ship's computer system. "June, we have a guest on board. Please prepare the medical bay and the spare quarters." "Of course, Alan," a calm female voice responded from hidden speakers. "Medical bay is ready. Would you like me to prepare food as well?" "Yes, please. Something gentle for our guest." Ilara followed Alan through the ship until they reached a room with medical equipment. A scan table stood in the center, surrounded by various devices she didn't recognize. "This is our medical bay," Alan explained. "With your permission, I'd like to have June scan you for injuries. The neural inhibitor collar should be removed as soon as possible, but I want to make sure it won't cause damage when we take it off." Ilara touched the metal band around her neck. For 8 years, it had blocked her natural abilities, leaving her in a state of sensory blindness. The thought of having it removed both thrilled and terrified her. "What do you want from me?" she finally asked, her voice rough from disuse. Alan's expression softened. "I don't want anything from you, Ilara. I'm a diplomatic investigator. I document violations of galactic treaties. The Rigelian Confederacy signed the Sentient Rights Accord 3 years ago, prohibiting slavery throughout their territory." He gestured to a screen on the wall, which displayed a formal document with official seals. "But they haven't stopped the practice," he continued. "They've just driven it underground. My mission is to gather evidence of these violations. When I found that auction, I was only planning to document it. But then I saw you." "Why me?" Ilara asked. Alan hesitated. "Because I thought your species was extinct. The reports from the Zenthian Purge 20 years ago claimed no survivors." Ilara looked down. "There are few of us left. Most were killed. The rest were scattered, taken as slaves. I'm sorry, Alan said quietly. What was done to your people was a terrible crime. A soft chime sounded from the ceiling. Medical bay is prepared, June announced. Would you like me to begin the scan? Alan looked at Ilara. It's your choice. Ilara hesitated, then slowly climbed onto the scan table. Soft blue light moved over her body from head to toe. Scan complete, June reported after a moment. Subject shows signs of malnutrition, muscle atrophy, and healed injuries to the wings and back. The neural inhibitor can be safely removed. Alan stepped forward, holding up a small device. This is the control key for your collar. May I? Ilara nodded, her heart racing. Alan placed the device against the collar. There was a soft click and the metal band fell away. Ilara gasped as sensation flooded back into her mind. For the first time in 8 years, she could sense the emotions around her. Alan's concern washed over her like a warm wave. There was no cruelty there, no dark intentions hidden beneath a false smile, just genuine worry and a deep, steady current of justice. That was the emotion she felt most strongly from him, a powerful belief in what was right. Are you all right? He asked, noticing her expression. Ilara nodded, tears filling her eyes. I can sense again, she whispered. I can feel. Alan stepped back, giving her space. Your empathic abilities have returned? Yes. She wiped at her eyes. I can feel your emotions. You truly mean to help me. I do, he confirmed. Once we reach Earth Alliance space, I'll file for your formal emancipation. You'll be recognized as a refugee with full rights. Ilara closed her eyes, overwhelmed by the sensation of hope. It was unfamiliar after so long. In the meantime, Alan continued, June has prepared quarters for you. There's food, clean clothing, and private washing facilities. The door locks from the inside, controlled only by you. Ilara looked at him in surprise. I can lock the door? Of course. This isn't a prison, Ilara. You're a guest here. A soft chime sounded again. Alan, June's voice said, I'm detecting a transmission from the trading post. They're asking about your purchase. Alan frowned. Put it through to the medical bay screen. The wall screen flickered and the face of the Rigelian auctioneer appeared. His mottled green skin looked paler than before. Earth diplomat, he said, his voice tight. There has been a mistake with your purchase. No mistake, Alan replied coldly. The transaction is complete. The Zenthian was not authorized for sale. To Earth Alliance personnel, the auctioneer insisted. Return her immediately and your credits will be refunded in full. The sale was legal under your own laws, Alan said. The transaction is final, as you yourself stated. The Rigelian's eyes narrowed. Be warned, Earthman. That property is valuable. The Slaver Guild will not be pleased. Slavery is illegal, under the Sentient Rights Accord which your government signed. Alan replied evenly. I've documented this entire exchange. End transmission, June. The screen went dark. Alan turned to Ilara, his expression serious. I'm afraid we may have complications. The Rigelians won't be happy that I've purchased you, especially once they realize my intentions. They will come for me, Ilara said quietly. She had seen it before. Slaves who escaped only to be hunted down and returned to even worse conditions as examples. They can try, Alan said firmly, but we'll be in Earth Alliance space within 3 days. Once there, you'll have full legal protection. He gestured toward the door. For now, you should rest and recover your strength. June will show you to your quarters. This way, please, June's voice said, as lights in the floor began to glow, showing a path. Ilara slid carefully off the scan table. Her legs felt weak, but there was a new feeling growing inside her, something she had almost forgotten. Freedom. Not complete yet, but the first taste of it after 8 long years. As she followed the lights through the corridor, she sensed Alan's emotions behind her, determination, concern, and something unexpected. Hope, matching her own. Perhaps, just perhaps, this human truly was different from all the others who had claimed to own her. Perhaps this time, freedom would last. Ilara woke in a soft bed, momentarily confused by the comfort surrounding her. For 8 years she had slept on hard floors or thin mats. The room was dimly lit, and for a second, panic gripped her heart. Then she remembered. She was on the Horizon Dawn, the human's ship. "Good morning." June's calm voice came from a small speaker near the bed. "You have slept for 10 hours. Alan asked me to check if you would like breakfast when you wake." Ilara sat up slowly, her wings shifting behind her. Without the tight bindings that had held them for years, they ached with a dull, healing pain. "Yes, please," she replied, her voice still rough and quiet. "The bathroom is through the door to your right," June informed her. "Fresh clothing has been placed there for you. Breakfast will be ready in the dining area when you are finished." Ilara found the bathroom and stared in wonder at the clean, private space. She turned on the water and let it run over her hands, marveling at its warmth. How long had it been since she'd been allowed to bathe properly? She couldn't remember. The clothing June had mentioned was simple but clean, loose pants and a tunic with openings for her wings. Ilara dressed carefully, wincing as the fabric touched her sensitive wing membranes. When she finally made her way to the dining area, following the lights in the floor, she found Alan sitting at a table with data screens floating around him. He looked up and smiled when she entered. "Good morning," he said. "I hope you slept well." Ilara nodded. With her empathic senses restored, she could feel the genuine concern in his emotions. There was no hidden agenda, no dark current beneath his kindness. "Thank you," she said quietly, sitting down across from him. A panel in the table slid open and a tray of food rose up. There was warm bread, fruit, and a bowl of something that smelled like the grain porridge her people used to make. "I had June check the dietary requirements for Zenthians," Alan explained. "I hope it's suitable." Ilara stared at the food. As a slave, she had been fed only enough to keep her alive and working. This much food, just for her, seemed impossible. "It's more than suitable," she replied, carefully taking a piece of bread. Alan dismissed the data screens with a wave of his hand. "We'll reach the border of Earth Alliance space in about 60 hours. Once there, I'll contact my superiors about your situation." "What will happen to me then?" Ilara asked. "You'll be given refugee status," Alan said. "That means you'll have legal protection and rights. No one can claim ownership of you. You'll be free to choose where you go and what you do." The word free still felt strange to her. "I don't know what I would do," she admitted, "or where I would go." "There's no rush to decide," Alan assured her. "The Earth Alliance has programs to help refugees build new lives. You'll have time to heal and consider your options." A soft chime interrupted their conversation. "Alan," June's voice said, "I've detected a ship changing course to intercept us. It's a Rigelian enforcement vessel." Alan's expression hardened. "Time to arrival?" 3 hours at current speeds. Increase to maximum safe speed," Alan ordered. "Plot the fastest route to Alliance space." "Complying," June replied. "New estimated time to Alliance border, 48 hours. The Rigelian vessel will intercept us in 2 hours at our new speed." Alan turned back to Ilara. "It seems they're quite determined to get you back." Fear curled in Ilara's stomach. "They will not allow a slave to escape. It sets a bad example for the others." "You're not a slave anymore," Alan said firmly. "And you're under my protection now." He stood up. "I need to prepare for our visitors. Please finish your meal. June will guide you back to your quarters when you're ready." Ilara watched him leave, his determination a bright flame in her empathic senses. But she also felt his concern. The Rigelians were coming, and they would not be stopped easily. 2 hours later, Ilara sat in her quarters, listening to the ship's engines humming at high power. The door slid open and Alan entered. "The Rigelian ship is hailing us," he said. "I'm going to speak with them. I'd like you to come with me if you're willing. I want them to see that you're no longer wearing the inhibitor collar." Alara hesitated, then nodded. I will come. They walked to the bridge together. The main screen showed the sleek, predatory shape of a Rigelian enforcement vessel, larger than the Horizon Dawn and heavily armed. Open the channel, June, Alan said, standing straight and tall. The screen flickered and a Rigelian officer appeared. He had the typical mottled green skin of his species but wore an official uniform with rank insignia. Earth Alliance vessel, the officer said. You are carrying stolen property. Prepare to be boarded for inspection. This is Alan Carter, Earth Alliance Diplomatic Corps, Alan replied calmly. We are carrying no stolen property. All items on board are legally purchased or owned. The Zenthian female, the officer hissed. She is the property of the Slaver Guild. Her sale to an Earth diplomat was unauthorized. Alan's voice remained even. The sale was completed legally under your own laws. Furthermore, once purchased, I immediately filed emancipation papers. She is now a free person under Earth Alliance protection. He gestured for Alara to step forward. As you can see, she no longer wears a neural inhibitor. She is not property. The Rigelian's eyes narrowed. You interfere in matters beyond your authority, human. The Slaver Guild will not tolerate this theft. The Rigelian Confederacy signed the Sentient Rights Accord, Alan reminded him. Your own government agreed that no sentient being can be property. We are simply upholding that agreement. Prepare to be boarded, the Rigelian repeated. If you resist, we are authorized to use force. Alan smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Officer, I should inform you that this entire conversation is being recorded and transmitted to Earth Alliance headquarters. Any attempt to board this diplomatic vessel without permission would constitute an act of war against the Earth Alliance. The Rigelian hesitated. Furthermore, Alan continued, if any harm comes to this vessel or its occupants, the evidence I've gathered about illegal slave trading in Rigelian territory will be automatically released to all signatories of the accord. You are bluffing, the officer said, but Alara could sense his uncertainty even through the screen. I never bluff, Alan replied. Now, unless you wish to create a diplomatic incident, I suggest you return to your patrol route. We will be in Earth Alliance space in less than 2 days. Any pursuit beyond the border will be met with military response. The Rigelian was silent for a long moment. Finally, he snarled, This matter is not finished, human. The screen went dark. They're changing course, June reported, moving away at standard speed. Alan let out a slow breath. They'll report to their superiors. We may face more opposition before we reach the border. He turned to Alara. Are you all right? She nodded, though her heart was racing. You stood against them, for me. Of course, Alan said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Your freedom is worth defending. Alara felt a strange warmth in her chest. For so long she had been nothing but property, a tool to be used and discarded. But this human saw her as a person worth protecting, even at risk to himself. Thank you, she said softly. Alan smiled, and this time it reached his eyes. We still have a long journey ahead. But I promise you this, Alara. You will never be a slave again. Not while I have anything to say about it. For the first time in 8 years, Alara allowed herself to truly believe in freedom. The Horizon Dawn pushed through space at maximum speed, the engines humming with steady effort. For the next day, Alara spent most of her time in the small medical bay, where Alan had set up equipment to help heal her damaged wings. The treatment is working well, June reported as blue healing light passed over Alara's wing membranes. Tissue regeneration is at 15%. Will I be able to fly again? Alara asked quietly. Not immediately, June replied. But with continued treatment, you should regain about 80% of normal function within 3 months. Alan entered the medical bay, carrying a data pad. How are you feeling today? Better, Alara said. With her empathic abilities restored, she could sense his fatigue beneath his calm exterior. You haven't slept. Alan smiled ruefully. Is that a question or a statement? I can feel your tiredness, Alara explained. You've been working all night. I've been preparing our case, Alan said, sitting down beside the medical table. Once we reach Earth Alliance space, there will be questions about your status. I want to make sure everything is in order. Ilara flexed her wing carefully as the healing light switched off. Will they try to send me back? No, Alan said firmly. Earth, laws are clear. No sentient being can be property, but bureaucracy can be slow, and I want to make sure you receive refugee status as quickly as possible. He showed her the data pad. On it was a document with her image and basic information. This is your temporary identification, he explained. It will be validated when we cross the border. After that, you'll be officially recognized as a person under Earth Alliance protection. Ilara traced her finger over the screen. Person, not property, she said softly. Exactly. Alan's smile faded as a chime sounded from the ceiling. Alan, June said, I've detected 3 ships on an intercept course, Rigelian design but not official military vessels. Their energy signatures suggest they are armed. Slavers, Ilara whispered, fear rising in her throat. Alan stood quickly. Time to intercept? 4 hours at our current speed. Can we outrun them? Negative, June replied. Their vessels are faster than diplomatic-class ships. They will overtake us before we reach the border. Alan's expression hardened. Then we need to change our plans. June, set course for the Cygnus Corridor mining station. It's closer than the border, and it's under Earth Alliance jurisdiction. New course set, June confirmed. Estimated arrival in 3 hours. Alan turned to Ilara. The mining station isn't ideal, but it's sovereign Earth territory. They can't touch you there without causing an international incident. But they'll be waiting when we leave, Ilara said. We'll deal with that problem when we come to it. Alan offered his hand to help her up from the medical table. For now, let's get you to the bridge. I want you where I can see you if anything happens. The bridge of the Horizon Dawn was a compact space filled with control panels and screens. Alan settled Ilara into the co-pilot's chair before taking his own seat. The Cygnus Corridor mining station was established 50 years ago, he explained, as his hands moved over the controls. It processes ore from the asteroid belt. About 200 people live and work there, mostly Earth Alliance citizens. Will they help us? Ilara asked. They have to. It's Earth territory. Alan checked a display showing 3 red dots gaining on their position. The station administrator is an old friend of mine. If anyone will help us, it's Pete Garcia. The next 3 hours passed in tense silence. Ilara watched the pursuing ships. On the scanner, her heart racing whenever they gained ground. Alan remained focused on piloting, occasionally speaking with June about power distribution and shield strength. Finally, a large structure appeared ahead of them, the mining station. It resembled a giant metal wheel with spokes extending outward, lights blinking along its surface. Cygnus Station, this is Earth Alliance diplomatic vessel Horizon Dawn requesting emergency docking, Alan said into the communication system. A few moments passed before a gruff voice replied, Horizon Dawn, this is Cygnus Station. State the nature of your emergency. We are being pursued by armed non-military vessels, Alan explained. We have a political refugee on board seeking Earth Alliance protection. Another pause. Verified your transponder. You're clear for docking. Bay 3 Horizon Dawn. Security teams will meet you there. Thank you, Cygnus Station, Alan replied, relief evident in his voice. The ship slowed as they approached the massive structure. A large door opened in the side of the station, revealing a brightly lit docking bay. The pursuing vessels are now 30 minutes behind us, June reported as they carefully maneuvered into the bay. Good, Alan said. That gives us time to get situated. As the ship settled onto the landing pad, Ilara saw a group of people waiting nearby. They wore the blue uniforms of Earth Alliance security. Ready? Alan asked, standing from his chair. Ilara nodded, though her legs felt weak with nervous energy. The ship's main door opened with a soft hiss. Alan walked out first, Ilara following close behind. The station's artificial gravity felt slightly stronger than the ship's, making her steps heavier. A tall man with gray hair stepped forward from the security team. Alan Carter. Never thought I'd see you coming in hot like this. Pete. Alan shook the man's hand. Thanks for the quick clearance. Of course. Pete's eyes moved to Alara, widening slightly at the sight of her blue skin and damaged wings. This must be your refugee. This is Alara, Alan said. She's Zenthian. I purchased her freedom from slavers in Rigelian space, and now they want her back. Pete frowned. Purchased her freedom? That's a diplomatic way of putting it. The Rigelians will say you stole their property. She's not property, Alan said firmly. She's a person, and she's under Earth Alliance protection now. I don't disagree, Pete replied. But those ships pursuing you might. They just sent a message demanding we hand over stolen goods. Alara's heart sank. Would she be traded away again for the sake of avoiding conflict? What did you tell them? Alan asked. Pete smiled grimly. I told them Earth Alliance territory doesn't recognize their claim, and if they enter our space without permission, we'll consider it an act of aggression. Relief washed through Alara so strongly that her knees nearly buckled. They won't give up easily, Alan warned. I know, Pete said. That's why I've called for reinforcements. An Earth Alliance patrol ship was already in the area. They'll be here in 6 hours. He gestured toward a corridor leading from the docking bay. In the meantime, let's get you both somewhere safe. The station hotel isn't fancy, but it's secure. As they walked through the station corridors, Alara marveled at the sights around her. Unlike the dirty, crowded spaces of slave markets and transport ships, the station was clean and orderly. People of various species walked freely, nodding, politely to one another. No one wore collars or chains. Is this what Earth is like? She asked Alan softly. Similar, he replied. Though Earth has open skies and natural environments, you'll see it soon, I promise. For the first time, Alara allowed herself to believe that promise might come true. She was on Earth Alliance territory now. She was one step closer to true freedom. But as they reached the station hotel, alarms suddenly blared throughout the corridor. What's happening? Alan asked Pete sharply. Pete touched a communication device at his wrist. Garcia here, what's the situation? Sir, a tense voice replied. One of the pursuing vessels just fired on our outer sensors. They're demanding we release the Zenthian immediately, or they'll attempt forced entry. The 3 Rigelian ships had arrived, and they were not backing down. Pete Garcia's face hardened as the alarms continued to blare throughout the station. Get them to a secure room, he ordered one of his security officers. I need to deal with this situation. I'm coming with you, Alan said firmly. This is a diplomatic matter now? Pete hesitated, then nodded. Fine, but she stays protected, he said, gesturing to Alara. I want to come too, Alara said quietly. Her voice was stronger than it had been days ago. Alan looked at her with concern. It could be dangerous. They are here because of me, she replied. I should face them. After a moment, Alan nodded. Stay close to me. The 3 of them hurried to the station's control center, a large room filled with screens and control panels. Station personnel worked quickly at their stations, their faces tense. Put the lead ship on screen, Pete ordered as they entered. A large display lit up, showing the face of a Rigelian. Unlike the officer they had encountered before, this one wore elaborate clothing with symbols of the Slaver Guild. I am Drax, representative of the Rigelian Slaver Guild, the alien said coldly. You are harboring stolen property. Return the Zenthian female immediately. Pete stepped forward. This is Administrator Garcia of Cygnus Mining Station. You have fired upon an Earth Alliance facility. That is an act of war. We fired a warning shot, Drax replied. Return our property, and we will leave peacefully. Alan moved into view of the screen. The person you referred to is not property. She is a free individual under Earth Alliance protection. Drax's eyes narrowed. You, the interfering diplomat, you have caused much trouble, human. I've upheld galactic law. Alan replied calmly. The Sentient Rights Accord which your government signed forbids slavery in all forms. Our internal affairs are not your concern, Drax snapped. The Guild has invested heavily in that specimen. 30,000 credits barely covers her purchase price, let alone her training and maintenance. Ilara flinched at the word specimen, but she stepped forward into view of the screen. Seeing her former captor, she felt fear rise inside her, but she forced herself to stand straight. I am not property, she said, her voice quiet but firm. I am Ilara of Zenthia. I am a person. Drax looked surprised, then angry. You've removed her inhibitor collar. That is a violation of handling protocols. No, Alan said. It's recognition of her rights as a sentient being. One of the station officers approached Pete and whispered something. Pete's expression changed to one of satisfaction. Guild representative, Pete said, turning back to the screen. I've just received word that an Earth Alliance patrol vessel has changed course and will arrive here in 2 hours, not 6 as previously estimated. I suggest you withdraw your ships immediately. Drax hesitated, uncertainty crossing his face. Furthermore, Alan added, I must inform you that all documentation of illegal slave trading that I've gathered has been transmitted to Earth Alliance headquarters. That includes records of this conversation, in which you've openly admitted to slave trading in violation of the Accord. You wouldn't dare release those records, Drax hissed. It would damage relations between our governments. On the contrary, Alan replied, your government signed the Accord. They will likely be interested to learn that the Guild continues to operate in violation of that agreement. I imagine they would prefer to address the matter internally rather than face sanctions from the Galactic Council. A long silence followed. Ilara could sense the conflict in Drax's emotions even through the screen, anger, fear, and calculation. This isn't over, Drax finally said. The Guild has a long reach. As does Earth Alliance justice, Pete replied. Now withdraw your vessels or we will consider your presence an act of aggression and respond accordingly. Without another word, Drax cut the connection. The screen went dark. They're powering weapons, one of the station officers reported tensely. Ilara's heart raced. Had they pushed too far? Would the slavers attack the station just to recapture her? Shields at maximum, Pete ordered. Prepare defensive systems. For several tense minutes, everyone in the control center held their breath, watching the displays showing the 3 Rigelian ships hovering just outside the station's defensive perimeter. They're moving, an officer finally reported. Changing course, they're leaving the area. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. Alan placed a reassuring hand on Ilara's shoulder. It's not completely over, he said quietly. But we've won this round. Pete turned to them. The patrol ship will escort you to Earth when it arrives. You'll be safer there than here. Ilara nodded. Thank you for helping us. No need for thanks, Pete replied. We just followed the law. Something the Rigelians should try sometime. 2 days later, Ilara stood by a viewport on the Earth Alliance patrol ship Guardian. Beside her, Alan watched as the blue-green planet grew larger on the screen. That's Earth, he said. Your new home, if you choose it to be. Ilara gazed at the planet with wonder. It's beautiful. It's not perfect, Alan admitted, but we try to do better each day. No one there will ever put a collar on you or call you property. The ship's captain approached them. We'll be landing at the New Geneva spaceport in 30 minutes. There will be officials waiting to process your refugee status. But everything has been approved in advance. You're officially recognized as a free citizen under Earth Alliance protection. Thank you, Captain, Alan said. When the captain left, Ilara turned to Alan. What happens after we land? That depends on what you want, Alan replied. There are Zenthian refugees on Earth. Not many, but some. You could join their community. Or you could choose another path entirely. And you? Ilara asked. Will you return to your diplomatic work? Alan nodded. Eventually. I've been granted leave to help you settle in first. After that, I need to continue gathering evidence. There are many others like you still in chains. Ilara looked back at the planet growing larger before them. Perhaps I could help with that work. I know how the slavers operate. I know the places they hide. That would be dangerous, Alan warned. The guild doesn't forget. Neither do I. Ilara replied softly. For 8 years I had no choices. Now I can choose to help others find freedom. Alan smiled. We can discuss it with my superiors. I think they would value your perspective. As the ship began its descent toward Earth, Ilara felt something unfamiliar inside her. Not just freedom, but purpose. The humans had a saying she had heard Alan use. Pay it forward. Help others as you have been helped. When they finally stepped off the ship onto Earth soil, Ilara took a deep breath of free air. Above her stretched an open sky, blue and vast. Someday, when her wings were fully healed, she would fly in that sky. Welcome to Earth, Alan said beside her. Thank you, Ilara replied. Not just for these words, but for everything. For seeing me as a person when everyone else saw property. You were always a person, Alan said simply. I just helped others see it too. As they walked together toward the spaceport building, Ilara looked back at the stars barely visible in the daylight sky. Somewhere out there, others remained in chains as she once had been. But now she was free to help them, free to make her own choices, free to build a new life. The human had purchased her and set her free. But her future, that was something she would build herself.